Welcome to episode 9 of Create This Book Too by Mariah Elizabeth and Ashleigh Monet. That would be me. As always, all of my Create This Book Too videos will be found in a playlist linked in the description. We have a little bit of a short week this time, only 3 prompts, so we'll try and make them good ones. But enough of me talking, let's jump right in and see what I can create. Alrighty then, our first prompt this week is create a design. What is something you've always wanted to design? Now is your chance. Design your own blank.
Examples: house, clothing, character, store, etc.
Fun fact about little old Ashleigh Monet. As a kid, I dreamed of being a fashion designer. The thing is, the only clothes I liked to draw were gowns. Princess gowns. In my perfect world, I'd be able to wear a princess gown everywhere. So as you can imagine, finding out there were Disney princess-inspired wedding dresses made my heart go a-flutter. Unfortunately, the dresses are just your average run-of-the-mill wedding gowns with a character name slapped on them. They in no way resemble the actual character gowns, and I thought to myself, ugh, they could be so much better. Well, here's my chance to have a go at it. I will be designing Disney-inspired wedding gowns. I seriously wish I could do like 10 of these because I have so many ideas, but the page can only fit so much. And I already feel like these sketches are too small as is. I can't go crazy with the details when it's this small. Let us begin with a classic ball gown, Cinderella. Now her traditional character has a dress that while it is gorgeous, it is wildly outdated. How can I bring this gown into the current times while still keeping the essence of Cinderella? Starting with the sleeves. Classic Cinderella just has rounded poofs for sleeves. Instead, let's opt for like a chiffon pleated ruffle. That's nice. And her classic gown has the bizarre hip swags. Yes, I had to Google to find out what they're called. Instead, we could do the same pleated ruffle, but in 2 cascading panels. So the silhouette is similar, but instead of looking so poofy and structured, it'll be flowing and relaxed. Now for color, it'll be primarily white, with a pale blue bodice and a little pale blue ombre accent at the foot of the dress. And I will say the original Cinderella was over-accessorized. Let's lose the gloves and swap out the tacky black choker for a diamond-studded one. And we need a nice mid-length veil to tie the look all together. And now for a little highlight action. I want this bodice to sparkle. And the petticoat. Now let's name the gown, in case it wasn't obvious. Cinderella. The next gown I'll be designing is for one of my favorites, Rapunzel. Her dress is very Renaissance in its design. To bring it into this century, I went with a more bohemian influence. She'll still have the lace-up corset look in the front and the puff sleeves, but instead of just the puffy shoulder cap with the tight sleeve down the bottom, I'm going to carry the puff the full length of the sleeve for a soft romantic look. The skirt will be very simple, soft, flowy, the kind of dress you want to go barefoot under, as Rapunzel is known to do. And of course, Rapunzel would accessorize with a lovely crown of flowers and a flowing cathedral-length veil. And for color, we'll start with a basic white for the dress. Let's color in those golden locks. Name the gown Rapunzel, and then we can add some soft purple accents to her flower crown, those sleeves, and like Cinderella, a little ombre accent at the foot of the dress. Maybe that's my signature. And sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Okay, that was fun, but because I'm me, if I was to actually create a bunch of Disney-inspired wedding gowns, in addition to having a princess line, I would of course have a villain's line of wedding gowns that are all black. Yes! Fun fact, I actually wore a black dress on my wedding day. So for this, let's do the villain counterparts to the princesses I chose. First up is Lady Tremaine. I wanted this gown to have a very Victorian vibe to it. It'll have a sweetheart neckline, but then also a sheer lace overlay with a high neck and long sleeves, both of those with a lacy ruffle trim, and it'll have a large gem brooch at the neck. I thought this one was just screaming for a birdcage veil too. And since original Lady Tremaine also has the hip swags, the bottom of the gown will basically be the same as Cinderella's. And now for the color. I started with some dark gray in all of the areas where there would be highlights on the dress, as well as on that lace overlay. Then it was time for the black, and I immediately fell in love with this dress. As much as I love the black, I did want to add a pop of color like the princess dresses. I chose red as that is Lady Tremaine's signature color. I used it for the gem brooch, the roses in her hair, and as an ombre accent for her petticoat. And I must not have recorded this bit, but I finished her off with some sparkles. So now I'll do Rapunzel's counterpart, Mother Gothel. Now hers was the gown that I probably took the most liberties with because so many aspects of her actual dress would be huge fashion no-nos these days. The hanging hip sash with the hoop fastener, no. I changed it to a waist sash with a gem brooch just like Lady Tremaine's gown. Those awful bell sleeves, no, no, no. Instead, I just gave her some sheer lace elbow-length sleeves. I did make this dress a drop waist so she would still have some hip emphasis even though I scrapped the sash. And then I just kept the bottom simple and flowy. She also gets a floor-length veil. I feel like that'll mirror the effect she has when she wears her cloak in the movie. I started coloring but detoured to add in that romantic swirling lace texture. I kind of worked backward this time, starting with the darkest blacks and then hitting the highlighted areas with gray. And of course, her veil is a sheer black as well. Everything was so black at this point, it all started to blend together, so I used a white colored pencil to add a few soft highlights to the bodice and set things apart. Lastly, I needed to give her a little pop of color. She also normally wears red. Disney has a thing with villains wearing red, but hers is a little more on the maroon side, so I leaned into that and mixed up kind of a purpley brownish red. A little bit of sparkle and some juicy highlights, and this one's done. Now let's glue them all into the book. Voila! First prompt of the week completed. I loved doing these. I feel like I enjoyed each gown a little bit more than the last, like they progressively got better. My only complaint is that I didn't have room to do more because I have so many more ideas. But now we can move on to the next prompt. Create sadness. Make this page sad. I think my brain was stuck in this bridal mode because the first thing I thought of was Corpse Bride. I mean, poor Emily, right? She literally has the saddest story. She thought she found love, but she ended up getting murdered for her money. And after being dead and alone, she finally finds love again, and the guy Victor won't marry her because he's madly in love with someone he's known for like 5 minutes. I'm not saying they should have ended up together. It's not right for a man to have to die to be with a woman, and if Victor didn't marry Victoria, Barkis would have killed her. But man, couldn't we have introduced another suitor, an already dead one for her? I mean, she deserved a happy ending, and she just didn't get it. It's truly a sad, sad story. So I just drew the corpse bride herself, looking understandably sad, using colored pencils. There's not much more to say about it, so cue some music. At this point, I decided to break out some paint pens. I used a couple of different blues to give her hair that stringy dead look, then used my white for a few juicy highlights. And not liking that on her hair. And then I put a thick white outline around her to help her pop on the page. And then on the other page, I just used a Tim Burton-y font to write the sad line from her sad song, "It seems that I still have some tears to shed." I decided to add some color to that with a little blue watercolor. And it's been a minute since I used my trusty straw trick, so here I go. I liked this look because the splatter almost feels like shedding tears, which works for the quote. Sign and date, and that's it for this one. I can't say that a prompt about sadness could ever be my favorite. I do look at this and feel incredibly sad, but I do think it's really well done, so I'm proud of it. All right, last prompt of the week. Create a split decision. Write or draw the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, first thing that comes to mind. I'm thinking sadness. I'm thinking love stories without happy endings. I'm thinking Tim Burton. I'm thinking Edward Scissorhands. Now let's get some references. Ooh, I see this cute one with Edward and Kim in a heart. I like that. What if I do a heart and then I rip it in half? So then it's like a split, like a play on words. A split decision. Let me start by making a heart. Just gonna fold this page in half, draw half a heart, cut it well folded. Presto. I was gonna start by drawing Kim, but then I realized I needed to consider the prompt. I didn't want to cover it up. So I laid the heart over it and traced it out. I'll link it on the heart so that when I glue it in, the prompt will read seamlessly. Now I can work on my sketches. Starting with Kim on this side, wearing that cute little Christmas dress of hers. This will be the sad scene of their last encounter. So now we can move over to Edward on this side. He's gotta look just as sad. Just a sad prompt week. All right, let's get these lined. In all honesty, sad or not, I love this movie so much. One of those movies where if you told someone who had never seen it what the premise is, oh, a guy with scissors for hands moves into the suburbs and doesn't fit in and falls in love with a girl and then he sort of fits in, but then everyone turns against him and he has to leave. They'd be like, how can that possibly be a good movie? Well, you have to see it to get it. I tell you though, it really makes me wish that Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder worked out in real life. Let's add a few details with some colored pencils. I swear doing that just takes it to the next level, every time. And at long last, it's juicy highlight time. And now to fill in the background with a little red watercolor. And it just wouldn't feel like one of my Create This Book episodes without a little blood, you know? Now to give it a nice tear right down the center. Glue it in the book. And that's it for this one. An ode to the forbidden love of a lifetime. Another sad ending to an otherwise great story. Still, I love this page and it might even be my favorite of the week. With that, we are finished for the week and it's time to recap. We created a design, or 4 by my count. We designed a few Disney-inspired wedding gowns for princesses and villains alike. Love this so much and really considering doing a whole series of these so I can do all of the princesses and all of the lady villains. I don't know, we'll see. We created sadness, decorating this page with the oh-so-tragic corpse bride. A character who truly got the short end of the stick. My heart goes out to her. Dead or alive, everyone deserves a happy ending. We created a split decision. I'm starting to suspect Tim Burton truly has something against happy endings because we base this page on Edward Scissorhands, one of the greatest movies of all time, one for the weirdos, with a wholly unsatisfying resolution. Thought, what if Edward and Emily crossed paths in the forest sometime? Well, that does it for the week. I really enjoyed these prompts. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.